YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. This is your boy Alex. I'm back with a brand new episode. Now, I'm still going to continue the series because we're finally getting to my favorite, not just my favorite, but y'all favorite television shows. I tried to put the list together on the greatest women martial artists. Just calm down. Give me about 2 or 3 weeks to put the names together. The names not adding up. They come too short, and I don't want to just make the video and then somebody go in the comment section and say, hey man, you forgot this person or that person, because I made that mistake like 5 times in 5 videos, and when I do the video, I don't want to forget anything. But this video right here is for everyone. This is for men, this is for women, young, old, black or white. Doesn't matter if you watch the television shows, don't matter if you don't watch the television shows. It doesn't matter if you do both. You watch the show, but then you don't watch the show, or you stop watching the shows, and then you started watching the shows back. But this was another idea that I wanted to make into a video. I was actually trying to wait until we got to late July, early August of this year to bring these videos out in celebration of Comic Con. Keep your fingers crossed, everybody. Comic Con could actually come back. I know y'all got upset when Comic Con was canceled. I was pissed. But keep your fingers crossed. Comic Con might come back in late July, early August, maybe September. So there's hope. And I got the idea from Comic Con. So Comic Con kind of inspired me to make this video. So we probably got maybe 3 to 4 episodes left in this series of different categories. So let's get to it. This one's going to be called Sex Game, the top 11 greatest television action, horror, sci-fi shows of all times. Now, I apologize if that's the long name of a title of a video. Yes, I got a fresh new haircut. See the difference? I look much better. Compare for the past almost 3.5 months, I look much better than I did yesterday, the day before yesterday, last week, last month. I look much better. See the look? I look much better. And I apologize for the camera. Sometimes when we do these videos, they will get broken into 2, 3, sometimes 5 videos. So I apologize. This might be between 30 to 35 minutes. Could possibly be 40 to 45 minutes. So don't be shocked or surprised if the camera cut off halfway and it gets broken into 3 or 4 or 5 videos. It's not done intentionally on purpose. It's an old ass camera. Once I start back working, you will get the best quality video filmmaking that humanly possible can get. So I apologize for that. That's not your fault. That's my fault. Yeah, my face looked fucked up yesterday. I apologize for that too. I also do photo photographer, not just filmmaking. I also do take pictures of myself. And sometimes when I don't change the memory of the camera, it fucks up the quality of the camera. That means the picture, the sound, the quality be all messed up. And when you watch it at home on your computer or your laptop, I'd be too up close or too far back. One minute I look fat, the next minute I look skinny. It's because the quality of the camera's old and fucked up. Not that I'm trying to make any excuses for it. I'm just trying to explain to you, so if you look at certain videos and go, how come in one video I look real good and in another video I look all jacked up, at least you got the explanation. Most YouTube content creators don't even try to explain what goes on with the camera. Sometimes these videos are edited. Sometimes my camera edit the video. Sometimes the camera edit what it wants to edit. So those are things that we go through as content creators and as filmmakers. You will learn that when I make a special video in the summer called What I Learned in Film School, for anyone that might want to be interested in that video. Okay, I did enough rambling on to the video presentation. If I'm sweating, it's because I just worked out like 35 minutes ago, and I apologize for that. So if I look like I'm out of breath and I'm tired, I actually did cardio and weight training before I got to the idea of this video. All right, coming in at number 11 is the X-Files. Now, as a kid, I always loved science fiction and I loved horror. Science fiction, fantasy, horror, action, drama, those are my Hollywood genres. If I was ever going to become a film director in Hollywood and ever do a movie or a television show, it would be the X-Files. See, the X-Files answers questions that you have always thought about in high school, college, when you're playing basketball at the park, hanging out with friends, or if you're camping and you're going on a road trip. You always ask, is aliens real? Does aliens exist? And sometimes it's taboo, because people will say, man, you know aliens is not real, right? And the idea that you could have the FBI come in and investigate unusual activity is like interesting. But what draws you in for this television show is the theme song. I mean, the way you hear someone on the piano and the way they cut to the music. Dun, 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 and you're like, oh shit. And when Fox came up with this idea, originally it was not in the US, it was actually in another country. I believe it was in the UK. And when they came to the United States, the executive producer came up with an idea. I want to do a show called The X Files. Now, you know your show's doing really good when you can compete with professional basketball, the NBA, professional football, the NFL, the National Baseball League, hockey. Law and Order was another show that came on in that same time frame. You know your show's doing real good when your show is kicking ass and taking names. You know, to come on prime time television, to come on in the middle of the day or middle of the night and dominate like the heavyweight champion. You know when you arrive when all of a sudden the studios decides, let's greenlight multiple seasons. Let's make multiple movies. Let's put them in the Simpsons cartoon. When you get put in the Simpsons cartoon, you have made it to the big time in Hollywood. All of a sudden, everyone was watching this show. Parents, grandparents, kids, grandkids. If you weren't watching basketball or football, if you weren't watching professional wrestling back when wrestling was the shit, not how it sucks today, you would be watching the X Files. You would be tuned in to the next episode, and you would connect to these characters. Like the emotion that you felt for Shelley and Scott on Walder, you felt the pain from him. You know, his sister was kidnapped, abducted. Spoiler alert! I don't want to ruin the television show if you ain't never saw the show. And for him to have to go on a journey for almost 20 years to want to learn the truth. It's not in the show, it's in the movie that he actually finds his sister, and then she can't tell him what she saw because it's too frightening. And it answers your question. And what I love about this show is that this show kind of opened the door for shows of today. Like, if it weren't for X Files, you probably would have never got a show called The Walking Dead. You would have never got Fear the Walking Dead. You would have never got shows where they became the first show to say, let's take a psychological thriller, some horror, some science fiction, some action, some drama, blend it together, and we came out with this new masterpiece, X-Files. And in a span of 20 years later, it gets like 11 to 12 seasons, possibly 13 seasons, 2 movies. It pops up in the Simpsons cartoon, posters, comic books, graphic novels, action figures. There have even been other television shows that have made X-Files spin-offs, but nothing really comes close to the original. And for it to be on this list, or not to have this on the list, would be a crime and a tragedy, to be honest, if you did not include the X-Files. So I have to say thank you to 20th Century Fox for creating this one show that was so badass. Like, they had 2 shows that was just dominant. Like, in the daytime, you're going to find out what the number one show is that it was dominating the daytime. And then towards nighttime, there was another show that was actually dominating night. Like, they actually had 3 moneymakers. X-Men, the animated cartoon series, was one of their moneymakers. X-Files, and you're going to find out what is the number one moneymaker that Fox, which is dominating the television cable airwaves. You'll find out what number one is. So, thank you, 20th Century Fox, for being a big part of my childhood. I know you're now hooked up with Walt Disney and you upgraded, so thank you. Coming in at number 10 is another show that Fox has when they created their second premiere channel, FX, and then they turned around and made 2 or 3 FX channels. This is another one of my favorite shows. This one's horror. This one's American Horror Story. Now, everyone have seen American Horror Story. I'm sure you have. In high school, college, at work, at the park, at the gym. To me, American Horror Story is like, what if you took Nightmare on Elm Street, Urban Legend, Twilight Zone, put all 3 of those together, and what do you get? You get American Horror Story. You get this incredible story in season 1 of a guy who's a book author or a writer. He's been married for 10 or 15 years. He moves into this house. This house has supernatural powers, and it makes you do things that you normally wouldn't do. And it was a smash hit instantly. It took the things that you're scared and afraid of, and they were manifest into real life. And then the cast was incredible because you've got people whose careers have been propelled to superstardom. People who've done this show, all of a sudden they got into other television shows, other movies, and the ones that came later on, it revived their career. Season 1 was gold. Season 2 just as good as season 1. Season 3 better than season 1 and 2. Season 4 just as good as season 3. But it wasn't until we got to season 5 or season 6 that Lady Gaga popped up and it got its biggest boost in television ratings history. Like, it was doing numbers that you would expect it to do at a movie box office, right? That's insane. And a lot of people have to give Lady Gaga her respect and her due because when she popped up in there for like a season, they got those huge numbers that they thought they would never get. If it weren't for her, most people would have not watched the television show. Every time you thought about a concept, they made it. You scared. They would take movies from the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s and actually remake them into a series. Like Children of the Corn is a very, very good Stephen King take, right? Well, they took some of his ideas and made it into a series, and it turned into a season. You know, the freaks of the circus turned that into a whole season. Anything that you could think about, Son of Sam, make it into a season. And they've lasted 9 seasons, and they've just been greenlit to do a season 10. I have a feeling they might do a season 10 and possibly a season 11, maybe end the series on season 11 or 12. And it would also be a tragedy not to include American Horror Story on this list. Because there are huge fans of this. Like, when you talk about great shows, good shows that become great, you're talking, it's on the same level as the X-Files. Because nothing comes close to that magnitude. So you got to be surprised when you see this on the list. Now, should it be rated higher? It should be. Now, I like the first 5 seasons of it, but everybody has their favorite season. Everybody has their favorite character, their favorite actor, their favorite actress. But whatever you were scared or afraid of, it's an American Horror Story. Once again, thank you, Fox. Coming in at number 9 is an action-packed television show called The A-Team. Now, what do you get when you get ex-military, ex-police, ex-CIA operatives who have all been burned by the system, and they all band together to fight crime, to fight terrorists? You get a group called The A-Team. Now, this was a show that came on late 70s, early 80s. I was still a little kid when this show had just got off the air. The show got 5 seasons, and when I got to saw it, I never seen A-Team. My mom was watching this show, and the theme song they had was so inspiring that it made you want to either become a police officer, make you want to be Mr. T. You would hear that theme song, and you knew the show was either going on TV or coming off TV when you hear the theme song. And it was the only show where they allowed the characters to kind of break the fourth wall. Like before Deadpool came up, you had this one character on TV that would do a lot of crazy, insane shit, like blow shit up, right? He was like Deadpool before they even had Deadpool. So the wisecracks, jokes, the sarcasm, it kind of came in with 18. You know, Mr. T was the badass thug that was going to whoop somebody's ass. Oh, I pity the fool. And you had the main character, which was Hannibal, who had the cigar and the smile on his face every time something happened. I love when a plan comes together. And the show is stand the test of time. And again, it would be a tragedy not to have this on the list. I mean, comic books, graphic novels, cartoons, crossovers. They've even made the show crossover with other shows on the network. You go on TV Land, it's on TV Land. And they made a movie. Now, I wish they would reboot the television show and start all over. You could have it where the old A-Team is retired. someone comes and takes their place and you do the passing of the torch. That would be the perfect time to actually do a revival of the show. It's 30 years later, you can actually bring the original cast back and do a reunion where you've got new members that are going to be taking their place. That would be the way to actually welcome the new generation of 18, since it came the late 70s, early 80s. All right, coming in is a horror TV show called Teen Wolf. Now, Teen Wolf is like, what if Spider-Man didn't get made into a movie? What if you turn the Amazing Spider-Man into a fully fledged television show for 6 to 7 seasons? The idea that you could be in high school, you got problems with passing your classes, you're not popular, you're the boring, nerdy kid that nobody likes, and most of us can relate to that. Most of us felt socially awkward when we were in high school and college, not socially acceptable. Always laughed, teased, made fun of, right? And one day you're walking at night, you go take a shortcut, not paying attention, and then here comes a wolf that bites you, not realizing that you've been bit by a wolf. You think it's a dog, but it's a wolf that bit you. And you wake up the next morning and you got all these superhuman abilities, and when the moon come out, you turn into a wolf. And the idea that they took Michael J. White's movies, Teen Wolf, because he did 2 movies of Teen Wolf, and they had already done a television show based off of those 2 movies by Michael J. White. Show the man some respect. He's a legend in Hollywood. He kind of came in at a period where it was comedy, but when they did this show, it was kind of like, let's do the same thing again, but more serious. It's like Teen Wolf is like, what if Spider-Man was in television? And the fact that he found out he wasn't the only one, then he had to fight other characters like a witch, and the idea that they did this show so clever, like you always expect a vampire. Well, instead of vampire, they gave you other wolves. They gave you witches. They gave you warlocks. They gave you ghosts. They gave you ninjas. And no show had ever done that before. And VH1 or MTV greenlighted this show. And people actually watched it. The fact that they took the actors and these guys got so big, they popped up in a movie called The Maze Runner. I'm sure you guys read the books, seen the movies. You took 2 of the best lead actors from that television show and put them in the same movie franchise. And when they were doing auditions for Spider-Man, some people hardly regard the guy that played Teen Wolf to play Spider-Man. But that's why I said it's Spider-Man all over again, but what if Spider-Man was an actual television show? This is the route you would go. You're in high school or in college, and you really can't tell anybody, not even your own girlfriend, that you have supernatural or superhuman capabilities, and you have to actually fight crime. So, who does not like Teen Wolf? I mean, yeah, the Michael J. White movies are legend. They will always be the reason why the show got made. The only thing that I think that was missing from this show, the only thing that they should have done throughout its whole run, was actually pick up the phone and call Michael J. White and say, yo, Michael J. White, you think you can do some flashback montage scene to those throwback movies? That would have been badass had they actually done it. But they wanted to reboot and they wanted to go into a different direction, and sometimes that happens. Coming in at number 7 is True Blood. Now I know, can I get some love up in here, True Blood fans? I mean, I was a huge True Blood fan. If it wasn't for my mother, God rest her soul, rest in peace. If it wasn't for my mother, I would have never gave this horror television show a chance. Now, I love science fiction. I like horror. I like drama, compelling acting, and I also like action movies. I like action adventures, action comedies, but I also love action as all of my favorite genres. If you do a comedy, if you do westerns with action, I like that too. But I didn't watch season 1 of True Blood. I watched towards the middle of season 2 going into season 3. And my mom told me, you got to watch it from the very first season. You just can't watch season 2 or season 3 and then all of a sudden like the show. So by the time they did season 4 of True Blood, when I wasn't going to school, obviously, in college, and I was on summer vacation, I would actually spend the whole entire summer watching all of season 1, season 2, and season 3. And there were some badass characters. I apologize. We got the police helicopter in the sky because remember we have curfew, and sometimes when they bring the helicopter overhead, it's to make sure they have crowd control. So I apologize if you hear the helicopter in the background. It's funny that when I do my videos, they bring the damn helicopter out. But anyway, like I was saying, I had watched season one, season two, and season three of True Blood, and I was hooked. I liked these badass characters. Like I liked it Eric Nortman. I mean, just think about it: the badass leather jacket, the slick back hair. He talks back to the Vampire Authority. You know, he's tall, he's good looking, he kicks ass. You know, the guy can speak languages from a long time ago, and he was a vampire that could fly. And this guy got to be the king of Mississippi. And the fact that they had Bill Compton as the main character and they made it where it was in the South, it was like, oh shit, for almost 20 years, it was a book. I read that book when I was in high school, and to watch something that you read into a book get made into a television show was like, oh shit. And the reason why it took me a while to accept True Blood is because I told my mom, I thought it was an HBO rated R version of Twilight. My mom said there's differences in the show, but then there's difference. Because my mom read all the Twilight books, and my mom said the movies, they were garbage. My mom was like in her 40s when she watched the Twilight movies and told me they're garbage, they're trash. Now, I know some of you Twilight fans might get angry and upset, but I had seen the Twilight movies, and I didn't really like them. But True Blood was like, to me, True Blood is what Twilight should have been. I'm just saying. I know y'all gonna be upset. But this television show got 7 seasons, and the show got so popular, every actor and actress in Hollywood, somehow, some way, was trying to get on to this television cast. Every time you turn around, they got some big name that you've seen from the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s trying to get onto this television show. A lot of us had a crush on the vampire, better known as Jessica, because you could just imagine what would happen if a girl got bit by a vampire and she was just fucking hot. So a lot of guys crushed on the actress that played Jessica. Then you had Pam. Then you had other characters in there. Like you had there's this one black girl that always talks shit, Tara, right? I actually went to high school with a black girl that was like Tara. Everything that you see Tara do, I knew a black girl that did that. And it's comical because some of the characters actually remind you of people that you went to high school and college with. And you could just imagine what would happen if they took the same concept of True Blood and said, you know what?